Good evening, everyone. It is June 14th. It is 7:06, and I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of the Willington Board of Education. We start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We include 2 times during our regular meetings for the public to speak. And we only ask that you keep your minutes, your comments to 3 minutes, and you start with your name and your address for the record. It's easiest if you come on screen so that we can see you on video, but if you prefer not to, you can choose under the reactions button to raise your hand, and that will allow us to see you and recognize you and turn on your microphone, because right now you're all locked out of the microphone. So is there anyone on the call right now who would like to make a comment during this initial opening period for present to speak? Jennifer?
I noticed I'm on the agenda, so I know I sent in a letter and I'd like to read it out loud myself. Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
We can hear you, but if you would start with your full name and address, that would be great.
Jennifer Bowes, 328 River Road.
Thank you.
It says, Dear Willington Board of Education, I've been watching the last few meetings and shame on me for not being so involved until now. I am so disheartened watching these meetings. First, I'd like to say as an elected official, you should be on camera. One board member who has plenty to say never addresses anyone on camera, which seems quite unprofessional. I hear a lot of chatter about curriculum and Mr. Stevens, board members or staff hiding the curriculum that has been made available to the public and I believe is located in Mr. Stevens' office. I'd like to know how many parents or board members have gone down to look at it. Also, are the curriculum subcommittee meetings public? When do we start trusting administration and teachers that what they are doing is in the best interest of our children instead of ridiculing them at every meeting? I love the idea of Great Schools Partnership being involved with our Portrait of a Graduate. I feel we need a neutral party to combine all the towns and prepare our kids for high school, whether it's E.O. Smith or another high school. Don't we want our kids to be prepared for that? It would be embarrassing if one of our students decided to attend a magnet school and represent Willington with this type of thinking, which, to be frank, is racist. Think of the message sent to the students and family of color with different abilities, LGBTQ, etc., when our board members publicly state that diversity and equity are unimportant and or negative. We talk about teaching children how to function in society civilly with empathy and respect. That cannot be done with this type of thinking. Much of what the guest speaker spoke about in the last board meeting falls under critical thinking and care, which is what you seem to keep fighting against. This needs to stop, as ignorance has no place in education. Stop micromanaging, trust the staff, and be proud of what our teachers and administrators are accomplishing. Honestly, I'm tired of hearing negative talk about race, sexual preference, and sexual identity. People are typically afraid of what they don't understand. Instead of pushing personal beliefs on others and our children, let's work to understand different perspectives so we can grow as people in a society. Some board members need to conduct themselves in a more professional way. You were elected by us, so please represent us with some dignity, and know that decisions should not be political or religious, but rather what is in the best interest of our children. Our administrators and teachers work extremely hard with very little appreciation at times, and often spend money from their own pockets to support our children. Let's work towards showing more empathy for them by letting them know we truly trust them and see the hard work they are doing. Thank you, Jennifer Bowes.
Thank you. Are there others present to speak? Please raise your hand, either come on video so that we can see you and recognize you. Nicole?
Hi, good afternoon. I just kind of wanted to talk back to that. Recently, in my daughter's,
Nicole, can you start with your full name and address, please?
sorry about that, Nicole Newcomb, Pinecrest Road. I just wanted to talk back at the last person that spoke. My daughter is in second grade, and just recently she told me that her teacher asked if when they need to use the restroom, if they identify as a girl, they may use the restroom, and if they identify as a boy, they may use the restroom. In my opinion, 7 years old is too young for a teacher to be asking those type of questions. This is a second grade classroom. It would look a lot different in a seventh grade classroom. I think this type of language is inappropriate at school. It's my job as a parent to speak to my child about this kind of stuff. Thank you.
Are there others who are present to speak who want to come on camera? Or you can raise your hand using the reactions button. Okay, not seeing anyone, we will move to the next item on the agenda, which is the chairman's report. I just want to make a note that it is coming on summer and we're having a difficult time scheduling some of our committee meetings. So if my fellow board members would please keep an eye on your email for a Google survey about our availability. It's going to help Brenda schedule so that she is not unduly frustrated by our 7 different schedules or eight that she's trying to juggle to get meetings put together. So please pay attention to that. It'll come from Brenda, and fill that out as soon as you can. And that'll come through email, so check it there. And one of the meetings we are trying to schedule is the Education Specifications meeting, or EdSpecs for short. For those of you on the call, the town has convened a school building committee, and they have asked us to put together a list of what our requirements would be for any school renovation or building project. It's not a small task. It involves things such as what kind of spaces do we want, both indoor and outdoor? And it's quite a lengthy document. We are working together to begin to put that together. However, I wanted to encourage the public that those meetings are open to the public, that we don't necessarily have those scheduled yet, because as I mentioned, we're having trouble scheduling those, but you can keep an eye on the town website and sign up for those emails so that you can hear when we're going to have those. If you would like to provide feedback, you can also do it at our regular meetings at the start or the end. For example, if you wanted a bigger music room, or you wanted an auditorium with comfortable seats instead of bleachers, whatever it is that you think our schools need, it's a good time for us to hear from you as we are putting together these education specifications. There's no guarantee that the school building committee would be able to afford the things that we might recommend, but it is a chance for us to put forward to them what we think we need in any school building project. So if you would all please consider that, and we'll try and get those scheduled. I suspect it'll be at least 2 more, probably a lot more than that as we go forward through the summer into the fall. Okay, I think that was it for the information. Herb? Are you able to come off mute, Herb?
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. I have, I'd like to add an item to the agenda.
Okay.
With your approval, I will make a motion that we add curriculum to the agenda under old business as item B.
What number is old business? Just so I can find it on my agenda.
11.
Okay.
11A, this would be 11B.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second it, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. So now that we have a motion, Herb, is there something specific about the curriculum? We don't have any curriculum to approve this month.
Yeah, it's something specific to it, yes.
So it's an item that's already been passed or something generic?
It's something that has not been passed,
Okay,
and it's something I would like to discuss briefly.
okay.
And I'll probably have another motion and relative to that discussion.
Okay. So all those in favor of adding item curriculum to the agenda under old business signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Okay, passes unanimously, so we can move ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is, hang on, I am having trouble with my mouse is very slow today. But I believe we move on to communications and then the superintendent report.
Nope, we have the formal agenda has the presentation in next.
Oh, you see, I knew I was missing something.
Yep.
Let's do that. Let's start with our presentation then.
So I asked Mary Kate O'Shaughnessy to come in, our middle school principal, to do a presentation on a proposed updated schedule for Hall School starting next year. She's going to go through kind of the backbone of what they've discovered and why they're presenting it. And this is up for board action later on in the agenda, but this would be presentation portion and your opportunity to ask questions. So I'll pass it over to you.
Phil, you have the presentation. So if you wanted to get that on the screen. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Kate O'Shaughnessy. I'm the principal of Hall Memorial School, and I am finishing my second year as principal of Hall. So we have been working with a schedule. We've been adjusting the schedule each year. And when I began at Hall, it became apparent to me that there were some things that I needed to change and that needed to be adjusted to get our kids ready to face high school and be ready in all areas. One of the biggest priorities that I have been working with is to have a full year science and social studies scope and sequence for at least grades 7 and 8, so that students are prepared when they enter 9th grade for the higher level lab sciences such as biology at E.O. Smith. One of the things that Lou DiLoretto had shared was that students are recommended for biology if they are able to do independent lab. And we felt that adding that full year of science would be helpful. So that was our first priority. Another item that became apparent as we were doing our data studies is that we needed core time to be slightly longer so that students could have sustained attention to tasks and that teachers could do hands-on type things, inquiry-based things that wouldn't be truncated after 42 minutes. We wanted to put in a block that had meaningful intervention and enrichment. And what I mean by that is not a study hall, not sitting in a classroom doing homework, but actually taking a look at the skills that are needed to be bolstered, taking a look at the skills that students actually have, and either building upon those skills and extending, or intervening and making those skills stronger. We also have an incredibly strong and vibrant music program and drama and chorus program at Hall. We did not want to have students choose between those two. We wanted to make those two available to students if they chose. We call those students doublers, and we have quite a number of students who are in both band and chorus. And we know that music, drama, and the arts extend the way a student thinks. We wanted to have collaborative time for teachers to meet, because teachers work as teams, and that communication among and between teachers is incredibly important for student connectedness and parent communication. We also had started last year our second step program, which has been quite successful. So the continuation of that social and emotional learning block across the whole school was pivotal. We wanted, even though Spanish right now is once a week for kids, we increased it for 7th and 8th to twice per week so that they were ready for languages in 9th grade. And we also wanted to increase PE time for movement and exercise. And we came to these priorities after doing teacher feedback, but also after I met with other middle school principals who feed into EO and to other schools in the area, because we want our Willington students to be ready for their 9th grade experience. So in order to address these priorities, I had to do some staff shifting around. Currently, we had an enrichment specialist, or have an enrichment specialist who does our schedule, but also as an enrichment teacher. I would like to eliminate that position and move that teacher to grade 7 science. She is a science certified teacher and she has taught science prior to moving into the enrichment position. She would still do the enrichment scheduling and the enrichment program would still exist. That position is just not going to be there. Every single classroom teacher would do enrichment classes. So it does not really affect the enrichment program or the extension program at all. Social studies is going to be taught on a 3-day rotation throughout the entire school year, so that students in both grades 7 and 8 would receive social studies instruction with continuity and consistency, and there wouldn't be changes in staff. Right now, it's half year. So after the first quarter, they changed teachers, and that just didn't work with the teaming. They changed grade to grade 7 and 8, so the teacher would flip flop, and then students would have to get used to a whole new subject area, a whole new teacher, go to a whole new classroom, and that transition took a while for students to adjust to. This would eliminate that adjustment, and the continuity would be throughout the full year. We would have the consistent time for SEL, and every teacher in our school teaches that class. And those types of classes go throughout the school year. They're community building, team building, decision-making, goal setting, all of those qualities that we want students to have that we call the soft skills. It's 1 period a week. We have the what I need period, which is when it's not changing. It will allow time for intervention, enrichment, band, and chorus. And then we had a period called STEAM that I'm proposing we change to a new name called Flex, and it would occur twice a week, and it would be for the enrichment and integration of skills and all of the different things across the curriculum, different concepts and ideas. To go into more detail about the Flex period. As you know, we had a really tough time this year around providing opportunities for students beyond the curriculum that also use curricular concepts. So my suggestion is that we use this period to enrich students based on Common Core and NGSS standards in areas that they could thrive. For example, math counts. It's a fantastic extension activity for students who are excellent in math, and they compete. They go to different towns. They have, they extend and expand their math skills. History Day, Science Olympiad, the Invention Convention, different types of projects that kids can work on, like project-based learning, extend their skills, apply their skills, personal finance, for students to learn about writing a check, setting a budget, taxes, earning money, having a savings account, all of the things that we may not get to in the course of a regular curriculum. This would be an extension of that. And it would be beyond the STEAM. Even though STEAM is very inclusive, this would be an extension of learning. It also allows for intervention to occur at that time, so that it is a learning period. It is definitely an active period. Teachers have to present a proposal about what Flex would look like for them. There's a way that they're going to assess it. There's an outcome at the end, a yearbook, a school newspaper, a literary magazine, poetry, song lyrics, things that we can, different projects that we can use to apply those skills. And we have kids who may want to do babysitting, CPR. We weren't able to do any clubs or activities after school this year due to the lack of coverage, the lack of transportation. And so I think that the flex period is an excellent time for them to be able to experience things that they might not be able to experience during the regular course of the day. So my outcomes for this are my grade, in terms of core time, grade 5 core time will increase from 265 minutes per week to 313 in math, language arts, and the social studies and science. And just to explain, in 5th and 6th grade, one teacher will teach both social studies and science in grade 5, and one teacher will teach both social studies and science in grade 6. Again, this allows for team consistency and continuity in instruction with the same person delivering that instruction for kids. In grades 6 through 8, ELA and math would increase from 290 minutes to 336 minutes per week. Grades 7 and 8 obviously is going to be the most overwhelming change because we're going from a half a year to a full year. It changes from 132 minutes per week or over the course of the year to 336 minutes per week. PE would be increasing, as I mentioned, from once a week to twice a week. Spanish is increasing for grades 7 and 8 for once a week to twice a week. And art is going to increase for 5 and 6 from once a week to twice per week. So this is an example of what this is for grade 5, what their schedule is going to look like if it's passed. You'll notice that they have their UA classes back to back. Their core classes rotate so that teachers see students at different times of the day. We started this year because we wanted to see kids before lunch, after lunch, in the morning, in the afternoon. As a teacher, I know that there's that class that's, oh gosh, they're so asleep in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I can't get to everything because they're so ramped up. Or this allows for that rotation so that teachers can see kids at different times of the day and kids can see teachers at different times of the day. It was a huge success this year and teachers asked that it be continued. Flex is on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And SOAR, again, is across the board Wednesdays from 1:45 to 2:45. Students have WIN in grade 5 at different times during the course of the day. And we have 4 special education students across the 4 grades so that there is no need, don't worry about overlap because we have enough practitioners to be working with those kids throughout the day.
Questions for Mary Kay regarding that proposal?
Laura?
I have a few. I'll start with one. And so I guess my first, of course, I'm thrilled to see an increase in science. And actually all of the initiatives on that first slide, I think are great. I guess my first question is the instructional time for science and social studies. And it looks like the schedules are a little different for 5th, 6th, and 7th and 8th. So let me just, as you're going through, that was my first question, like, is the instructional time increasing or is it just the schedules making it so they have it through the year?
Instructional, the periods during the course of the day are increasing in time. For the block. So I think right now, I think it was 53 minutes and core time is increasing for next year.
Okay, so for 5th and 6th grade, well, even that they were different, right? The amount of time in 5th and in 6th. You've got one teacher who's teaching science and social studies. So the two of them together, the instructional time is equal to what ELA is getting or what math is getting. So
Yeah.
science and social studies are still half as much time as ELA and math.
Technically, if they're taught discretely, yes,
Okay. Oh, because you're integrating the two in.
yes.
Okay. And then in 7th and 8th, it looked as though, and if you could you put the slides back up for a second? Because I had a question on, I think it was the last slide. Yeah, well, actually, go to the one before. Yeah, here. So 7th and 8th grade science from 132 to 336, is that a mistake? Should that be all of the subjects? Or,
No,
oh, because it's per week. Well,
yes.
so, all right, so in
Grade-
each of these,
Grade 6 through 8 is increasing to 336 across the board. Science went from 132 to 336.
okay, so in 7th and 8th, science is now going to be an equal instructional time to math and ELA.
Yes.
What's going on with social studies?
Social studies is going to remain about the same. It's not increasing or decreasing in time.
Okay, and
So
that's,
so students will see their social studies teacher, both 7th and 8th graders, 3 times a week in a rotation. So instead of 5 days, it's 3 days. I'm putting the social studies teacher on like the UA rotation schedule, so that he doesn't have to switch between teams. He sees both groups throughout
Right.
the whole year.
okay, all right. And then I wondered if the students, all right, I'm maybe not quite clear between win and flex. Is when students will get remediation?
When
or
is it?
intervention?
Yes, when is the intervention period for students who are lacking, well, not lacking, for students who need the strengthening of specific skills, they are given tier 2 intervention during that time. That is also, it can be, the kids could take band at that time, instrumental lessons at that time. They have sectionals for chorus, and there's also enrichment opportunities.
All right,
So
and then
there's,
go ahead, sorry.
no, that's okay. So there's specific teachers across that period who can provide that enrichment extension intervention for those kids.
Okay, and then along with that, the flex, that is enrichment with different types of classes. Like we had a club period when I was there at one point. It sounds like that, where teachers will offer different classes and students get to choose.
Yes. Yes.
So students who need to have intervention are still able to get those classes through flex.
Correct.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. All right, I'll stop now. Let other people ask questions.
Okay.
I might have a few others.
Mary Kay, I just wondered what SOAR was. Oh, I'm seeing it now. Safety, ownership, achievement, respect. Okay, thank you.
Yep. We had identified those as our core values. It ties in with the Falcon. We wanted to, have different categories where students could show mastery of certain things. And those were identified as the very basic things that we wanted to really capitalize on. We recognize students for their outstanding citizenship using that acronym. And that's what we call that period, because we focus on those core values during that time.
Okay, and that is complementary to second step?
That's when the second step curriculum is taught.
Is being taught. Okay.
We also do ancillary things during that period of time. There's team building, there's different advisory activities. Certain advisories have run charity drives. We have school-wide like gratitude challenges, school-wide initiatives around those core values.
Okay, thank you.
Anna?
Hi. So is 5th and 6th grade still doing half and half science and social studies?
Yes, well, there will not be personnel changing from one team to the next,
Mhm.
that one teacher will be teaching both social studies and science to the students.
Simultaneously, or is it a pattern from quarter to quarter?
It varies. There are many opportunities for integration. And I think as the practitioners that we have in there right now, our teachers right now,
Mhm.
are well versed in doing that integration. So I think we're going to see more integration as time goes on. Right now, we're just kicking off the NGSS curriculum piece for science, so that takes some adjusting. So integration is something that we are moving toward. There may be discrete units, one being social studies, one being science, but the goal is toward more integration.
Okay, great. I was thinking those things would be perfect to do all together in a project
Absolutely.
situation, or thematically anyway.
Mhm.
Okay, and then I wanted to make sure to say that is there a plan to get some Spanish down to 5th and 6th grade?
Oh, yeah. Spanish will be in 5th and 6th grade, but they'll have it one time a week and not twice a week.
Okay.
Yes. We've just felt that students needed more exposure in grades 7 and 8 in order to be ready for Spanish at the high school level.
Agree. And then I just wanted to know, looking at this 5th grade sample that you have up here, how does it help the whole school's schedule to have those 2 back-to-back UAs first thing in the morning?
Well, 5th grade has UA first thing in the morning, 6th grade has it at a different time, 7th grade, it rotates.
Mhm.
So the 5th grade class, so the 5th grade teachers would have their prep and then their team collaboration time. You know, I'm not 100% sure, quite frankly, which is best. Is UA best in the morning? Is UA best in the afternoon? You know, if 5th grade has it first this year, maybe next year we will change that. But this is the way it worked out for our interventionists for 5th grade.
Okay.
6th grade will have UA at different time.
Okay. Can you tell me where, do you know off the top of your head, where are the other UA blocks back to back for the other 3 grades?
Yes.
Do you know where they fall on here?
Well,
Like, would be the 3rd and 4th period?
yeah. I mean, it would be like there's 1, 2, there's 3, 4. Then we don't have every UA teacher teaching every single period. So I could look it up. I mean, it's on my drive, but
It's all, you have all this color coding going on. I know it's super difficult to schedule all this stuff. Okay, I was just thinking about how great it would be for that staff to have that time first thing in the morning to review what happened the day before and then plan appropriately for their classes for the remainder of the day on this hypothetical 5th grade team. And then just wanted to give a little bit of thought to where that block would fall for the youngest students there at Hall. But I guess you're right. You probably will have to give it a try and see what works the best for them. Okay, I think that was most of my questions. Thank you so much for all the time you've put into this. I know it's not easy.
You're
Can
welcome.
you stop sharing your screen so we can see all the people? Thank you. It's a little harder. Donna?
First of all, thank you very much. I'm excited about some of the changes, particularly that they're going to be learning some personal finance, which will benefit the kids from once they learn it for the rest of their lives in that way. Couple questions. One is, when it was up, I noticed that one of the classes had recess then lunch, and some of them have lunch then recess. I'm just thinking about, it looked like it was really early in the morning that they were having lunch. So I didn't know about the timing of that. And then what happens in homeroom, and would it be, I know sometimes homeroom's been eliminated at other places, and just whatever your first class of the day is where you show up. They do whatever attendance and pledge, and administrative stuff, but then it eliminates the time from going from homeroom to the first class if it's kind of combined. I didn't know if that was considered.
Yeah, that's a very good question. In this particular schedule, because they, fifth grade starts with UA, and that's the fifth grade example that I showed you. They do go into homeroom, they check in there. Their homeroom teacher is like their school connection. So it's like their mini family. And that's the same group that they have SOAR with. So that's the teacher, that's their home base. In the other grades, typically their homeroom teacher is their core 1 teacher. So they go right into that class. There's not a shift.
Thank you.
Mary Kay, I had a question about the 2 flex periods. Right now, I'm sure there are some students who double in things that are other than music. I don't know, the math competition, the science competition. Would they be excluded because they couldn't fit the flex period in their schedule? Would they be unable to double because there's only 2 flex periods?
No, because we have opportunities for them to do that and win.
Okay.
So there's, yeah, no, we would have that opportunity for them to be extended, even if they decided to take both musics.
Or even if they weren't taking music, I wouldn't want them, all of those things, you know, for example, my daughter did both History Day and other activities, and I wouldn't, because they happened after school or a mix of different times. I'd hate to think that all of them had to be fit into those 2 blocks. And if you couldn't fit them in with your interest in those 2 blocks, there were no other opportunities to participate.
Right. And one thing I forgot to mention, Michelle, thank you for bringing this up to my, or at least jogging my memory. The flex classes are on semester basis. So if you say want to do Invention Convention, even though Invention Convention happens in the spring, but if you wanted to do, say, Personal Finance and Literary Magazine, you wouldn't have to choose between the 2 of them. You could do one semester and one the second semester.
As long as it was being offered a second time.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And that would be talked about with the kid, with the student. You know, it's just like when you're in high school and you have to select your electives. It's very similar to that, where the student is given a menu of choices.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much, you know, okay, where are your priorities? Let's put them in order 1 through 3, and let's do our very best to see how we can make that work for them.
Okay, thanks. Tracy, did I see your hand up for a minute? And then Laura?
Yeah, I'm super excited. Mary Kay, thank you so much, because this has been on my agenda for about 10 years. I hope that maybe eventually we can do something with staffing so that social studies can increase too, but it's really great to see the science is increasing. And I'm just still a little confused. So the flex, the win, that allows intervention kids can do intervention, they can do band, they can do chorus. There's no one's going to be excluded because of have a conflict with something else.
No.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Laura, I saw your hand.
I have to reiterate what Tracy said, because it's been on mine since 2010, when I had to teach both 7th and 8th grade science, and they had half as much time. So a couple questions. The flex will that be multi-grade?
Well, yes. The 5th grade has decided to keep their students as a 5th grade flex and offer them various opportunities as a 5th grade. The other flexes, 6th, 8 will be combined.
Okay, right. That's great. I like that idea of them being together in a setting like that. I think that's really good. And then the only other one I had in the sample schedule that you showed us, there were 2 things. One, you mentioned the rotating core, which I'm used to. I taught that way, but it didn't actually look in the sample like it did that. They were different times, but only Monday was 1, 2, 3, and then it was 2, 3, 1 the other 4 days.
Yeah, we would have to, that has to be probably changed. It probably was in the Google
Okay.
Drive, but when I copied and pasted it and sent it to Phil, it probably was, pretty much a snapshot of in time where I
Okay.
haven't probably edited. But
Not a problem. I just wanted to
yeah, it
clarify.
will rotate. It will. And the kids love that model.
Oh, it is such a good model. When I first started teaching, it was set, right? And you're like, why are these kids in my first class always asleep and tired? And why are these kids after lunch always hyper? And then when you do the rotating schedule, you're like, oh, yeah, any of the kids are going to be asleep first thing in the morning, and they're all going to be hyper after lunch.
Yeah.
And then my last question was on the lunch and recess, because in that 5th grade sample, students were having lunch at different times because it was, and I was wondering about that. And I'm wondering if that's a good thing for students to have lunch at a different time on different days. It doesn't look like it's a huge difference because it's just rotating recess, but I was wondering if that was just to make it fit in the schedule or kind of the reasoning.
It really is just to make it fit in the schedule. This year we have 4 lunch waves, and our lunch actually starts at 10:30 in the morning, which it's early, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're planning to do is sort of stagger, even because we had to keep the students separate during the lunch waves and separate them for social distancing, we had to have less kids in the caf. Please. What we want to do is have one group enter the caf, get their lunches, eat, leave, have another group come in, like almost like a rotating, staggered kind of movement in and out. It is very, very slight when kids have their lunches, and it's not a big enough change from day to day to be problematic. And it was really to fit into the schedule.
Okay.
There was no real reason for that. It was just like, this is how we're going to make it work on this day.
Okay, understand. Great, thank
Can
you.
you please see that slide again? That 5th grade block schedule? Because I know Donna had that question about lunch also.
The earliest lunch starts for grade 5 is 11:07, and that's fairly typical.
My concern about lunch being before recess had more to do with upset tummies than anything else.
Oh,
They're all kind of wired up after eating.
yeah. 5th grade has this. They have recess after lunch now, and we haven't had any difficulty with it. That's just been our model. But it does switch back and forth, so we can see which one works better and then make a more firm decision if we need to moving forward. I mean, I would like to be able to have an actual set schedule for more than 1 year in a row, because we have had 3 different schedules, obviously for 3 very, very different reasons. But I think that this schedule, it checks off the boxes. I would love to have a separate social studies and science teacher for 5th and 6th grade, but staffing being what it is, we had to be creative, and I'm happy that we were able to do everything that we could do with minimal upset of what we currently have.
Okay, if you could take the screen down, Phil. Is this something we need to vote on tonight? Is that the plan? Are we moving forward with this? Or was this more of a presentation and for discussion and input?
So the idea is that we need weeks to put this new schedule into Powerschool because it's different, and create the blocks, and then we need to schedule kids. So it takes a good bulk of the summer to do that. So we wanted to do the presentation to have the opportunity for you, if you had more questions, to be able to ask Mary Kay, and then potentially take a vote on it tonight. That was our goal.
Donna?
I'm just wondering, what was was it just a shifting of time, or was something actually eliminated? And if something was eliminated, what was it?
It was both. The big piece that was eliminated was the position, the enrichment specialist position. I eliminated that position to move that person to the science teacher. In terms of the schedule itself, that was, that already was in place. I just needed staff. And then adding the social studies teacher to that UA rotation was another piece that had to be fixed, worked on.
Thank you.
I'm going to clarify that. Science year-long was not in place in the schedule. You have created science year-long in the schedule for 7, 8. And so that was what was created. You stole time from STEAM, which then became Flex. Those are the two big primary changes. And those changes allow you to then do that schedule across 5 through 8. And the other piece that's changed that you won't see necessarily schedule-wise is how Mary Kay has adjusted the teaching. So right now, a 5th grade science teacher is also teaching 6th grade science. That will not happen next year, correct, Mary Kay? That individual will teach 5th grade science and 5th grade social studies. There will be a 6th grade science teacher, and that person will also teach social studies, and so on and so forth. Whereas 7, 8 is a science person, and 8th grade is a science person, and then there is a 7, 8 social studies person. Those are if a quick highlight from me, those are the quick change, the overall changes.
Oh, we lost Herb.
I want to give Herb a second. Herb was off for part of this.
Yeah, I went off camera. I was talking to Herb on the phone, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Let me get him back in.
Great.
He's back.
Hi, Herb. If you want to take yourself off mute.
Hold on, Herb. There you go. Herb, are you able to hear? Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
Herb, if you can take yourself off mute, we can hear if there were any questions you had for Mary Kay before we move on.
I'm sorry.
That's it.
Okay.
What's that, Michelle? I'm sorry.
That's okay. We were testing your microphone. We're happy to see you back.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
just wanted to know if you had any questions for Mary Kay before we moved on.
No, I just wanted to thank her for putting this together. It must have been a lot of work and a lot of thought was put into it. In changing the enrichment program, is that going to affect things as they stand? Because I know you have that flex period, but I was wondering whether we have staff who are we just going to use staff in these different areas? Are they certified? Are they these areas that of interest as far as they're concerned? How is that going to be handled?
Great question. We have all of our teaching staff is going to be responsible for teaching flex. What I'm asking teachers to do is to propose what they are interested in doing for flex. They, in their proposal, need to show how their proposal connects with Common Core and NGSS standards. They have to explain what the outcomes are for the students, what they hope students are to achieve by the end of their class. They also have to indicate how they're planning to assess students and how they're going to provide feedback, and what major goals they're hoping to achieve through their flex time. The last thing I want is for it to be a study period or an extra block of time. I want it to be actual learning and not necessarily rigorous, but where you have critical thinking, where it's thought provoking, where you branch out to different ways to show your talents. Math counts, science Olympiad, history day, publishing a comic book, a literary magazine, different things that kids can really thrive in, where they may not necessarily do as well or feel as successful in their classroom. It's also a chance for teachers to share their passion. So if you have an English teacher who is a songwriter, what a wonderful thing. You can actually do lyrics and poetry and write songs, and then you could do mini plays, things of that nature. That's where those connections happen, and that's where we're seeing the need with our kids. Personal finance, my own children, when it came time for them to write a check, I mean, obviously now they don't even write checks anymore, but things like doing a budget, figuring out taxes, understanding rent and how you would support yourself, things like that. We want kids to have those full experiences.
There are 2 periods a week, I guess, aren't there? 2 periods a week.
Yes, 2 periods a week. Yes.
The students, if they selected, say, personal finance, they wouldn't do it for the whole year, though, would they? They just do it for maybe 1 or 2 sessions and then go to something else.
Yes, part of the proposal is that I'm asking teachers to complete is also telling me duration. Is it a quarter class? Is it a semester class? Would it be something that's even a full year, depending upon what it is? We're looking to start a peer mediation program back up in the school. We're looking to do some community outreach, tutoring, writing, and then we have those Portrait of a Graduate skills that we're really looking to build into all of our subject areas, and this is a perfect time to do that.
Would we have any kind of evaluation of these?
Yes, part of the proposals would be that teachers would be sharing how they would be assessing their kids. And then obviously me as the principal of the school would be evaluating how successful the program was, how kids, what student feedback is. We look for student feedback on many of our programs. So we would have students provide feedback. We would have teachers reflect. We do that after most classes, just to be sure that they're meeting the needs of our population.
Okay, I was offline for a while, so I missed a large part of your presentation. I'm sorry, but I'll watch the tape later on. But on the social studies, is that in the number of hours equal to what they had last year or this year?
Social studies is around even to what they have this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a lot on our agenda for today. So are we ready to move on? Okay, next is communications, followed by the superintendent report.
Yep, and we only had 1 communication from Jen Bose, and she mentioned that tonight.
Okay, then the superintendent's report.
Thanks, MK, for your presentation. The 21-22 school year update, I'm going to talk 0 tonight about COVID. I'm just going to skip right over it. So we've had a busy few weeks with field trips and end of the year events. We had some tremendous concerts, the 3rd and 4th grade chorus at Center School. We had the HMS band concert. They were both great. The HMS chorus concert, they're performing tomorrow night. So we look forward to that. We had Nature's Classroom come into the middle school. It was kind of an in-house field trip, we'll call it. They did some exploring on the river and that went well. And obviously the end of the year is full of exciting activities. Today was Flag Day at Center School. They had field day at Hall School today. And I'm surprised Mary Kay is upright still because I know that makes for a long day. So thanks for that, MK. So some really fun stuff going on at the end of the year. The other thing as far as the year update goes, I wanted to give you an update on the school-based health center, our mental health clinic, and some stats. So we had 9 students at center school and 9 students at Hall School access that mental health services through the school-based health center. The clinician provided 71 total visits at center and 56 visits at Hall. I do expect those numbers to increase, and the reason I say that is because we had a shared person with another district. It's just the way it works. They couldn't find a social worker. Everyone's looking for social workers. We have our own now, and so that person will be with us next year. The person we have right now, she'll also be doing some work. She has hours over the summer. So that's gone well. So I'm appreciative of the families that have accessed that have needed that. As far as our enrollment goes, center school has 210 students as of today, and Hall School has 183. Obviously, both those numbers include outplacements. We have a total of 393 students. I will tell you the number of confirmed incoming kindergarten students is at 40. You may be hearing a proposal from me in July about how to handle that number. So we'll be talking about that. Brianna's wearing it on her face. As far as staffing goes, we hired Nicholas Solano as our new 8th grade ELA teacher. He'll start in 22-23. And we hired Amanda Holden as our new CES, special education teacher. And we also hired 2 members of the business office. We had 2 office openings here. Those are shared positions in the business office between the town and schools. And we hired Heather Sharpley as the payroll and benefits coordinator and Rasheen Ferentz as the accounts payable coordinator. And they're both Willington folks. So welcome to them. We did receive a couple resignations, and this is a hard one for me. 7th grade teacher Erica Bouchard has resigned. She is going to teach in Ellington. Erica's been here probably just as long as I have. She followed me along here. Erica's going to Ellington, where there's a lot more opportunity for admin. So obviously I wish her luck. And then Katie Fleming, who was probably right away after I came in as well. She was hired, and she's resigned from center school. She's going to be teaching in Colchester. She's got 2 young children. She will be significantly closer to home, reasons we fully understand. So just, say thanks to them for their time and efforts, for all of our Willington students, and Erica Bouchard especially, for all your work in curriculum and coaching and all the work that you've done for us. You both will be missed. And then simple stuff, the promotion ceremony is on Friday for the elementary school. It's at 9 o'clock. And the promotion ceremony for 8th graders at Hall is Friday night at 6 p.m. Everybody's sending positive thoughts for beautiful weather, but we will see what happens, because those thunderstorms that are forecast right now may push us inside at Hall. So we will see. All board members, I think, were sent an invitation. So hopefully if you want to attend, you're more than welcome to join us. That is my report.
Okay. So next up is the June financial report.
So this is the June financial report. Again, I'll highlight the major changes to the programs. We purchased some curriculum materials from programs 1, 2, and 3. We committed to professional development for science. Obviously, you just heard one of the reasons why. And project-based learning, which is connected to our curriculum. That came out of program 6, and it kind of decimated that program. Program 7, utilities, is going to be over budget, and it's due to heating fuel. We just had to fill up at center school, and I'll tell you that our $1.64 that we had locked in, we just paid $4.90 something. When you buy 4,000 gallons at a time, it's not a small amount of money. And so we know that, that's going to be over budget. I know Hall School might need another fill up. So we'll probably have to make a transfer. We're going to have to make a transfer into the into program 7 for utilities, because it's already in the negative and it's gonna get worse. Probably one more fill up by the end of the month. So, and then lastly, the program 10, we encumbered some more money for subs. We had not made the adjustment for the long-term subs, so that's been done now. So that is the June financial report. And as you can see, the $312,000 that's left as of today is the reason I'm making some large proposals to you tonight, things I've already presented to the finance committee. I met with Donna around this, and we expect, if you make all of the adjustments that I'm going to recommend tonight, you'll still have at least $100,000 in your end of year funds as of today.
Okay, any questions on the financial report?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Donna.
Phil, I thought we were locked into our fuel price at whatever it was, but the new price was $2.50 a gallon. I'm not sure the timing of when the contracts, one ended and one begins.
Great question, Donna. So when you do a 1 year your commitment for your contract, you do your rate times the amount of fuel that you believe you'll contract for, and you have to pay that for that amount of fuel. So we have a mathematical calculation that we've used for years to try and calculate exactly how much fuel we will need. So if we contract for 50,000 gallons, we have to pay for 50,000 gallons. If it's a really warm summer and we use 30,000, we have to pay for 50,000 at the rate we lock into, which is why they allow us to lock in. So we've done this for years. You know, right now we're over a couple of deliveries. It's not terrible. It's just that once you hit your cap of what you said you would purchase, it then goes to daily rate. And it's daily rate until the end of the fiscal year. So we crossed that bridge sometime, I think it was early May, when we hit our contracted rate for total fuel. And now we're on to that daily rate until June 30th. And then July 1 will be our brand new locked in contract. I think it was $2.99 or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it's still not $6 of what we see right now. So thankful for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Herb, if you would come off mute.
Phil, do we determine how much we will return to the town this month, or is that something we'll address in July?
No, we'll address it later, and sometimes it's even August as things come back. So sometimes encumbrances are, there's something's encumbered for $60,000 that comes in for 58.2, and so there's some money that comes back, and so that's where they spend the summer basically, finalizing all the bills. One of the things that is a little bit of a hassle right now is the flood money. Is that we have that flood money that we've paid for right now. We're going to get an insurance claim for it, so there's still insurance money that's going to come back into your budget, but it's going to take some time. I can tell you though, and this is what Donna and I met about, is that we believe after all of these, we're going to have a minimum of $100,000. She said your range could be 1 to 150 because they encumber all of the salaries. They, if somebody loses days or somebody leaves, they move things back and forth, benefits, all of those things. Yeah. So somebody can come and go.
But it'll probably be over 100,000 then.
That's my ballpark right now is 100,000, and depending on what it is, we in your 22-23 budget, we said we would offset the 22-23 budget by $50,000 using non-lapsing funds. So what you may hear me recommend is take $50,000 out of your non-lapsing fund, apply it to next year's budget, and then ask for some of the money that you return to go back in, so you have the funds in the non-lapsing fund if you need them.
Yeah. Now, as far as that, was it 2% that we can set aside?
Up to 2% of the, yes. Yep.
Is that, are we up to 2% at the present time, or?
We're currently capped, yes, but once that, we won't be capped anymore once we apply the 50,000 to next year's budget, and that'll happen July 1.
Okay.
Maybe it won't, maybe I shouldn't say that. It won't happen July 1 because even though you already put it in your budget, you need to vote on it. So it'll happen at your first July meeting to move the money from non-lapsing to apply it to your budget.
Okay, good.
Okay, seeing no more questions on the June financial report, we'll move on to committee reports, first transportation and then finance.
I can probably snap these pretty quick just because they're both on the bottom. Transportation met on May 4th to review the contract extension, and the details are going to be provided below. And then the finance committee met on May 26th, and they reviewed the quotes for the technology projects. That's going to be discussed later in the agenda. So I don't know if any committee members want to add anything to that, but I tried to keep it simple for you.
I think that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so moving on to new business. In the sake of time, I am going to move all of the minutes at once. So I move that we approve the minutes from May 4th, 2022 Transportation Committee, from May 10th, 2022 regular meeting, from May 11th, 2022 special meeting, May 26th, 2022 Finance Committee meeting, June 7th, 2022 Transportation Committee meeting.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to amend the motion
Okay.
to divide the voting and discussion on 3 items in the list that you just outlined there. F, evaluation flexibilities for 2022, 2023. H, 2022 to 2027 transportation contract extension, and I, school restrooms.
Okay, so I did not include anything after F. I only did A through E in the first vote. It was only the minutes.
Only the minutes.
Only the minutes. It was what was in my motion. Is that
Okay,
acceptable to just vote on the minutes all at once?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
My hearing isn't that great, you know.
I completely understand, and it's even tougher over Zoom. So to make up for it, do I have a second? Go ahead, Ann.
I'll second a motion.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. Donna, I see your
I-
hand.
I'm sorry, whether accepting and approving, do we approve the regular meeting and the special meeting and just accept the transportation meetings and the finance meeting? Did I get that straight or am I backwards?
I think it's really parsing at this point.
Okay.
In terms of language, because you are able to vote on committee meetings that you did not attend. Remember, only 3 of our members of the 7 of us are on any one committee. But if that were the case, we'd never be able to pass the acceptance of any of those committee meeting minutes if we did it.
What you
We
could do
specifically
is,
have it set up that way.
instead of approving them, you just receive them.
Yes.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Approve and receive.
The question is more if there were any changes that needed to be made in last month's regular meeting minutes. That's usually where, because they're quite extensive sometimes. Tracy, did I see a hand? Oh, you're on mute.
Do we accept that? Do we talk of that right now? A change in the regular meeting minutes?
Yes, if there's something that you wish changed in the regular meeting minutes, this would be the time to say that.
I just noticed that it said our next regular meeting was July 12th instead of June 12th at the end. That's the only thing.
You got all the way to the end and found the last line. I think we can easily accept that edit for accuracy, since we are now here in June and are belying that immediately anyway. Okay, seeing no other edits, all those in favor of approving the minutes from all 5 of those meetings as noted in the motion signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Donna,
I said aye.
Okay, I didn't see the yellow box pop up. So passes unanimously. So we will move on to the next thing. So evaluation flexibilities 2022-23.
Yep, so the State Board of Ed approved the extension of flexibilities for implementing the 21-22 Connecticut teacher evaluation guidelines. And they approved it so it could go into 22-23. And really what I'm asking of you, I'm advocating for you to adopt the same extension you approved in 21-22 that we're applying this year. We were in the process of modifying our teacher evaluation plan, and then COVID struck. And the state has allowed people to just minimize basically what you're doing, and in case you need to do a new plan. The state is also working on developing a brand new teacher evaluation plan. So it makes no sense to spend time on something and create something that the state may come back to you and say, it's going to be different, here's what you need to do. So the flexibility is basically what it allows you. If you approve the extension of the flexibility, it simply maintains the requirement for one student learning goal and informal observations. And the number of informal observations is directly tied to a person's rating. If they were below our expectation, they would have more. If they're what we expect, they would have less. I will tell you that the WEA union leadership, the president, supports this extension. A lot of districts are doing this, and I anticipate the state is going to produce a new teacher evaluation plan next year. I do expect that to come. And then once they push out what their expectation is, then it makes sense for us to modify and make a new presentation to not only to the board, but to the state of what we would want to do. And that would be developed jointly in district. So in the meantime, I suggest the board adopts the evaluation flexibilities as they stand.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask regarding this
Can
proposal.
we have a motion on the floor and then the discussion, Herb? Would that be okay?
Yeah, as long as you give me time to just give my little.
You can ask all the questions you want when we're through. Anne?
I move that we adopt the evaluation flexibilities from the 2021-2022 school year into the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Tracy Anderson, I second that.
Okay, thank you. Herb, ask your questions.
Yeah, I just have a few questions and comments regarding this proposal. This is a state, I believe it's a state evaluation proposal dealing with flexibilities, and Phil didn't address any of these. And I was wondering, for example, the flexibilities are things that I believe, if I remember, the staff has to provide growth in certain areas. And the state has outlined S and L learning, social emotional learning, as one of the requirements under this flexibility. Also, equitable learning. I imagine that staff would have to take a professional development session regarding some of these. I don't really know, but also the culturally responsive teachers, whatever there's academic achievement, of course, is one of the things that teachers are always striving to be. And also under the flexibility, engaging the families. Now the student learning indicators under this evaluation are the S and L or M learning, I believe, and addressing areas of need in these students, and also other areas that this evaluation considers are supporting wellness, for example, which is a big thing in school today, you know, providing wellness and safety for students, equitability for learners. The terminology in this is is rather interesting, because some of like equity and equality and things like that all mean something different to me. And this has come from the state. And I know that the evaluation flexibilities impacts the students, and it's supposed to provide them with some of the things that some people believe they should have. And I think also the flexibility includes the development and goal of health and safety and S&E practices and all that kind of thing. The student learning indicators, I believe, are about 45% of the entire evaluation. I can't remember what it was when I was teaching, but it was not that much. But observation was 40%. And our administration have a lot of work to do, because they have to put in that 40%. The stakeholder feedback is 10%. That's parents and citizens in the community. I don't know if we ever do anything in that area now, whether we have a survey to evaluate what is going on. And the whole school student learner is 5%. So, you know, the evaluation has changed a lot over the years. It's changed a lot, and there's been a lot of influence from the state, and they are kind of regulating it, and they're working all kinds of things in there that were not there before. The rating, I believe, under the evaluation, Phil, is exemplary, proficient, developing, and below standard. And as a staff, we don't get a report on how many are exemplary. I'm sure there are a lot of teachers in the exemplary and proficient range, but we don't never get a report on that. It's something that maybe we should take a look at. And it's not an invasion into, you know, individuals, staff, or anything like that. But this is my understanding of what this is, Phil. It's a rather complex operation, really.
Yeah, the percentages have not changed at all. Really, the only thing that's changed, typically you see a requirement for a minimum of 2 goals. And what Herb was talking about, the goals in this can be, they want them under 5 categories, and you're only doing 1 goal. It could be under SEL, it could be under student engagement, it can be under engaging families, cultural responsiveness, or it can be under academic achievement. A teacher sees the data from the school district in the fall. They write a goal. They meet with their administrator. The administrator works with them to, approve their goal, and that's what they're working on. So the difference really is that they only have to do 1 goal versus 2. A minimum of 2 is what it used to say. And now it says you only have to develop 1.
They do 2 goals, right?
Typically they do 2. And then the other percentages are really the climate surveys, our overall school data, and the observations. And that's where the rating comes from. So those are but the big change is really around the goal setting the goals and the number of evaluations. So typically our old plan, a new teacher would have 2 formal observations and 1 informal observation, and then a review of practice. Now this would require 2 or 3 informal observations for each staff member and a review of practice. It does not mean an administrator cannot do a formal observation if they want to, or if they feel a staff member needs them, or if a staff member wants one. If Ann is one of my teachers and Ann says, I'd like a formal observation, we can set that up. But it's not a requirement. So the change again is in the number of observation, the type of observation that the administrators are doing on the staff, and then the number of goals.
Now, who does the observations? We have 3 administrators doing that.
So the 2 principals, Erin
Special
Conley
ed.
does the people that get the curriculum stipends. She's responsible for doing their evaluations. And then Marcia McGinley does the people associated with special education.
Special ed, yeah.
Correct.
Are there additional
You
questions?
say, and just one other comment, and you said that this program is pretty much the way it was this year for next year, but they're going to change it and expand on it. They're still working on it.
Well, this program is exactly what we're proposing. What we're doing today is exactly what is the proposal in front of you is exactly what we do next year. What they would do next year throughout the school year is work on a new evaluation plan. And I have to assume that they would pitch it in the spring of 23 and try and roll it out because there's going to be a lot of professional development when they roll something like that out. It might even be the fall of 24. We don't know that yet, which is why they're doing, I think they've been doing a lot of COVID work and the teacher evaluation plan went on the back burner for them. But it's still occurring for us. It's still, the observation process is still happening.
But the idea behind this whole evaluation is to further the growth and development of staff.
Correct.
To improve on their skills. Mhm.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
Are there any additional questions? Donna?
Sorry, I was just wondering, Phil, do you see copies of all the evaluations?
So I have access to every single evaluation in the district. Yes. So and we talk about this regularly in our admin meetings. You know, if there's an outstanding evaluation, there's a conversation about it. I saw this lesson. If there's something that we're concerned about, we have those conversations. And they can't see, if they're not evaluating someone, an admin cannot see other people's evaluations. I have access to every evaluation, however, and we use a program provided through the state called EdReflect. And then all of our data at the end of the year, every teacher's given that rating, and that information is uploaded to the state of the number. It's not tied to the teacher. It is simply the number of people at exemplary, the number of people at proficient, and so on and so forth. But I can see them all, yes.
And I'm hoping that you and the principals are using that data both to encourage and steer people in the direction they need to be going in.
You are 100% correct. And it's meant to be a growth process. So they know it too. Teachers know it too. You know, when a teacher has the comfort level working with an administrator, say, I botched that lesson. It was terrible. And you talk about what you can improve with the goal of seeing that improvement next time. Or if you see an outstanding lesson and saying, hey, you should share that with your teammates and what went well and, you know, why did it go well? All those identification, you know, things are really important for teacher growth.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, seeing no more questions, we'll move with a vote to approve the extension into next school year of the teacher evaluation process. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. So moving on to the next item under new business is the HMS schedule.
So you had your presentation. This is really on you now. If there's additional questions,
You said something, but I didn't pick up on it. Bell rang or something.
sorry. This is really on you now. You how you would like to move forward with the proposal that was given to you tonight. Oh, look at that, Mary Kay's back.
So again, would you like to start with a motion and then we can move on for discussion?
Makes sense.
Laura?
I put my hand up, but I was muted. So I'll make a motion to accept the revised, I guess, HMS schedule for 2022, 2023 as was presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Brianna. Are there additional questions that you have about the schedule that were not answered earlier? Okay, we had
Just one quick question. Are parents going to be informed regarding the schedule, Phil?
Yeah, so the plan would be once the board approves, Mary Kay will draft a communication out to families just to let them know what's different next year, what it's going to look like. And so that way, you know, just like you got the explanation of what is that flex block, what is when. I think one of the things that in this conversation of development of a new schedule, an updated schedule, is really communicating what should be done in those blocks. And it's not only for teachers, it's for staff too. You know, everyone needs to know what's happening in those blocks, but then also, and I know there's going to be some people cheering about the science 100%. It's feedback we've received for years. And it's something that I'm proud to say that we're able to do if you can approve this. And, you know, hats off to Mary Kay and her staff for coming up with a schedule that can make that happen. Because it's, you know, it's been feedback year after year after year. But yes, the communication will go out to families explaining all the adjustments. And as students are loaded into schedules, I'm sure we'll have more questions as well.
Okay, Donna?
Since some of the classes are, you know, the student will select what they want to participate in, whether it's chorus or band or some of the other things that will be offered, how early will families be given the list so that they can have a conversation with their student and think about it? And also, if something is anticipated to only be offered one of the semesters, I think it'll help a student make their decision. You know, if photography is being offered, but you're pretty sure it's only going to be offered first semester, I think it would, and not second, I think it would be helpful for the students to know that, you know, of course, it's going to be offered both semesters, then they know that if they choose not to do it now, they can try it later, versus something that may only be offered first or second semester.
Mary Kay, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so once I get all the proposals and all of them have been approved, the list would be made available. The first couple of, some students would be automatically, if they've chosen band and chorus, they would be automatically loaded into those. But then obviously meetings have to happen with kids to have real conversations with them. So parents would need that information ahead of time and that would be shared.
Okay.
Is rebuilding a schedule in Powerschool is very time consuming, and you have to have the schedule right. So you can look at Laura smirking. I can see it. Yeah, it's true. And you know it's got to be right so you can load kids, because once it's there and kids are loaded into that schedule, it's really hard to make fixes. It's really complex. So we want to make sure we have enough time to design that in Powerschool so it's properly done.
Donna, is your hand still up or is that a second question?
It was up for a second. I just wondered, Phil, who gets final approval on what these things are? Does Mary Kate just take care of that, or do you check to see what it is?
About an individual student schedule?
No, not the individual student schedule. You know, that if 10 of these flex opportunities are being offered, you know, who besides Mary Kate takes a look to see if those are okay, or does Mary Kate just make the decision?
No, she has that decision-making ability, but you know, we have a pretty open communication line. We have admin on a weekly basis. We talk regularly. We'll talk about what's being offered, and we can even share those with the board in the fall. I mean, I think that's, you know, only fair to do. When we announce what, you know, just like we did with STEAM, when we announce what STEAM blocks are going to be offered, we could have shared that with the board. I think that's easy to do. You know, Mary Kay is not going to offer, you know, something that's inappropriate or, you know, not educational. So that's my expectation. But yes, I do see those, but it's just because we have open communication.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Herb?
on the list that and she gave us was rather extensive. And I'm not sure that all of them will be utilized during the year.
You're right.
Any of our clubs that we have at the present time be considered for the Flex program as well?
It was really hard this year to get clubs, Herb. So some of them are transitioning in. And if I didn't have my fake background up right now, you would see the list of clubs behind me. You know, robotics, you know, RC cars. There's a lot of things that you can build into a flex block, and this could come from student recommendation too, and their feedback. And so I think that the idea is, you know, we have to figure out what we're going to build and what we can do.
Right.
Okay, you're going to add to that.
I was just gonna say, you know, we were not successful in getting clubs to run this year, and it was definitely disappointing to me, because I do feel as though students gain so much connection to the school and extra when they have clubs and activities. And I don't want Flex to be just clubs, because I do want there to be higher level learning, applied learning, you know, using science and engineering and different types of just real application, an authentic application of learning. But with clubs after school, when you take into account people to advise them, and then take into account transportation and take into account other things that kids have going on, I don't want their experience to be truncated because of logistics. So if we have a way to fit these enriching and extending activities into the course of the school day, then we should do that. And if we have the practitioners to do that within our very walls, I think we need to capitalize on the talent that we have in our teachers.
Now, as far as equipping these clubs, are we giving them any financial support? Because some of them might require workbooks or equipment, or who knows what. Do we have enough money floating around that we can give a stipend for things like that?
We do have budget, you know, we have lines in our budget that we have specified for specific enrichment activities. The enrichment specialist, the enrichment coordinator who does the scheduling is a stipended position. So it's separate and distinct from the teaching position. And we do have budget monies for various curricular lines. So it would, if we needed anything, like, for example, math counts, for them to attend the math counts competitions, there's a budget line for that.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the HMS schedule as it was presented signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Donna, I wasn't sure if
I eyed.
Okay. Sometimes if I don't see the yellow box fast enough. Okay, so it's unanimous and we can move on to the next item. Thanks. The next item is the 22 to 27 transportation contract extension.
So our transportation contract with M&J is expiring. Instead of going out to bid, and I'm going to tell you, going out to bid would be a significant risk, because we would probably see $400 a day per bus in year one. We worked on negotiating, and this is the transportation committee worked on this, an extension with M&J, and our bus per day rate in 21-22 this year was $337.60. I will tell you, many other districts that are very, very nearby, their current range is between 377 and 399 already. So we also have, you see, this is what we're proposing as the extension. There would be an increase in the midday run. That was $56.31. per run. And there are larger increases in year 1 and year 2 in that midday run. The contract extension does allow the board the opportunity to terminate the contract after 1 year. If we enter into a collaborative agreement with Region 19 with M&J, or if we go to one pre-K through 8th grade building, or we do a pre-K through 8th grade schedule, that stuff is already in the contract. What I'll tell you is we budgeted for a 3% increase. This is more than a 3% increase. But again, the risk of going, clearly seeing what other people's contracts were at already, and hearing that they were getting one vendor bidding on a project and it was $400 a day was a very large risk to us. So we tried to negotiate the extension. I am proposing the board do 2 things here. And Donna, I didn't get back to you on this, but you're going to be glad to hear this. I'm proposing that you, number 1, accept the 5-year contract extension with M&J, and 2, that you prepay the increase that is above the 3%. The unbudgeted portion for next year of the increase is $20,522. That, because it's a multi-year contract, you can pay some of next year's with your current funds. So you would apply $20,522 from the current fiscal year to the future of your contract with M&J if you approve that. I did speak with Donna about this, the business manager, and she agreed that because it's a contract extension and that it's a multi-year contract, we could do that. Matter of fact, if you had enough money and you wanted to pay 2 years in advance because it's a multi-year contract and if you had budgeted for that, you could do that. We're not doing that. I'm only proposing you prepay the amount of money that we do not have budgeted, and that is $20,522. I'm not really going to get into, if anybody wants to add any more detail from the committee, but about the athletics field trips are 2-hour minimum and the hourly rates. Those are pretty consistent with what they have been. But you can see this gets expensive. Where I see 5-year contracts and we're at 417, I see other school districts in year 5 in the same year at $447 a day per bus. So we have maintained a pretty good buffer if you accept this extension.
Okay, so can you say that number again for what the increase would be?
$20,522 is what I would ask M&J for an invoice. $20,522.
Herb, did I see your hand?
Yeah, is this the entire contract with them or just the monetary portion of it? Because there are other aspects of this, the routes that are taken, and also the quality of the buses, things of that kind. I don't have a quarrel with the figures. Apparently they're the way they should be, but there are all kinds of things in the contract. Did we cover any of those issues, or was it just the monetary part of it?
So with the contract extension, the only thing you're negotiating is your rates. Everything else that's been in the contract for the last 5 years would remain the same. So if there's an expectation for a certain number of buses to be under 10 years old, that expectation remains. So yes, the contract is probably 30 pages long, and we haven't had an issue, otherwise you would have heard from me, about violations or things like that. And so all of those things would remain. The only thing that we would be adding is we'd create an addendum that would just be the financial page that you just saw with the opt-out if we were going to go to a collaborative or one schedule or school.
Do we have a motion? Herb?
I make a motion that we approve the 2022 to 2027 5 years transportation contract extension.
Thank you, Herb. Is there a second?
May I make a friendly amendment?
Not until there's a second.
Okay.
Laura?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Laura Rodriguez. Donna?
I'd like to amend it to include that upon the receipt of the invoice for M&J, that we prepay the amount of $20,522 out of our current year funds for the 2022-2023 contract year.
Thank you, Donna. Herb, is that an acceptable friendly amendment to you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there additional questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of extending the transportation contract another 5 years and prepaying the amount that was unbudgeted in the amount of $20,522, signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
That was unanimous. So we are moving on to the next one, which is school restrooms. Donna, you had asked that I add this to the agenda, so I'm going to give the floor to you for a few minutes.
I just want us to all start thinking about whether our schools are refurbished, reworked, or reconfigured, I guess is the proper term, or we go to a new school building, that future restrooms be set up so that stalls are single user stalls, so each student can select the stall of their choice and have a level of privacy for their shyness, their modesty. And so it was just something I wanted us to start thinking about. I'm not exactly sure how that would need to be configured. I've thought of more of a large room where, you know, when you're washing your hands, everybody is together. It's more of an open area. And then this, the individual restroom stalls would maybe have a door like that's frequent at many restaurants that you can't necessarily see under. And I don't know how high the ceilings are. Let's just pretend that the ceilings are 10 feet high or 11 feet high, that maybe the walls only go up 8 feet so that there's air circulation and light. But that's just, I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention so we can ponder it so that everybody can be comfortable when they need to take care of personal matters.
Okay, thank you, Donna. That'll be something for us to discuss at the Ed Specifications meeting when we are able to schedule one next.
But I can try and get some information about that too, so I'm prepared for the next Ed Spec meeting.
Okay, for some reason, Phil, I couldn't hear you at all. That was, you weren't muted, but maybe.
Can you hear me?
No, I can, but
Okay.
I'm just thinking that we are starting to fade, all of us, now 2 hours into the meeting. Either it's my hearing or your voice.
Nope.
I just want to note that we do have executive session at the end of this. So if now is a good time before we go into old business, we can do so for a 5-minute recess, or we can wait until we get to the end before the executive session. Anybody desperate?
I would appreciate a 5-minute break.
Okay, so if I have a motion.
I make a motion that we take a 5-minute break and reconvene at, according to my clock, 8:55. Is that correct?
Yes,
I'll
that would be
second.
fine. And Laura seconds that, and Herb thirds that, and I fourth that. Okay, so we will take a 5-minute recess
Do we have to vote?
Come back in 8:55. Oh, we should vote. Sorry.
Aye.
That'd be all those in favor of a recess signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, it was unanimous. So now we're on recess 5 minutes. Back to order. It is 8:05. Thank you all for your patience. So next on the agenda is old business. It's specifically funding for technology. Bill?
So the finance committee met and I shared, these are things that, you know, I always talk about. I keep things in check about if there's some funding for certain projects that are really important, or for non-lapsing funds, what would we use? you have funding this year, you know you have funding this year. And these are, I would call 4 critical projects that you could fund without impacting a budget request in a future year. And I'm going to go through all 4 of these. It's 11A, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first item is the staff laptops, and the finance committee has been through all of these. There's only one spin, and it's on the cameras that I'll share. The staff laptops, this would be the replacement of all the staff laptops that we currently have. I believe it's 54. The recommended vendor that the committee has is CDW. The cost would be $61,908.84. That would be an outright purchase of laptops. There's a significant benefit of going with CDW. They are not the cheapest by, I think, there was one quote that was $400 or $500 cheaper. However, CDW, the other package, did not offer this last thing, and that's a 3-year advanced breakage protection and an extended hardware warranty, and they have an auto deployment opportunity. So basically, our Novus staff would give them a picture of what the laptop should have on them. We would give that to CDW, and they would take the time to set those laptops up with that specific picture, so that Novus wouldn't have to spend time doing that, because that would be an additional cost to us. The other companies did not offer those things. They might have had a 1-year breakage protection, but the 3-year breakage protection and extended hardware warranty is huge. So, and the auto deployment is hours and hours and hours. We would have to pay Novus as a special project if it didn't, if that didn't happen. So that's the first recommendation from the finance committee for all of the laptops for CDW. The second project is a migration to Google, and that project is similar to the process that the town went through. And really what it is doing is it's eliminating an outdated server that it provides. That server right now has significant security risks. It's as protected as it can be. This would help us move forward for our eligibility with cyber insurance, which is really critical. And so this project would be completed by Novus. There would be Google Workspace for education licenses that would be an annual cost. And then the Novus would do the process of the migration. The total cost would be $21,890. Again, this is critical moving towards that cyber insurance, but also just for the security of our infrastructure. And the majority of this work, it's just hours, it's labor hours, and to make sure it's done right. The town has already gone through this process. We would be the next one to go through it if you approve this. The security, cybersecurity upgrade. Basically what happens to be eligible for cyber insurance is there's a kind of a generic checklist of items you have to have. And if you don't have those, you're not eligible. And the first time we applied for cyber insurance, we couldn't get a quote because we weren't eligible because of certain parameters. And so this project would basically check all of the boxes off. And again, I'm going to say this as clear as I can, is as of today. Something with cybersecurity could happen tomorrow, that someone exposes something that needs to be done. There could be a new addition to the checklist. However, this would check off every box as of today to make us eligible for cyber insurance. That's how I requested this quote come in. And this would be the work done again by Novus. It's our internal company that we use for all of our IT. We would expect that we have other subscriptions right now that would be eliminated if you do this project. We would have about $6,000 in current subscription fees that would go away because you have this in place of it. The total cost is $31,499.70. The configuration is a one-time fee. That's the $10,000. There's a 1-year subscription, and that would become annual. And the reason you have to have that annual is to continue to be eligible for cyber insurance. You have to maintain the level of security. And there's a one-time fee for this product called iDRAC. All right, so that's the cybersecurity upgrade. Obviously, the committee has heard more than my high-level overview. And then the security cameras at Center. Hall School has brand new cameras. They're Visualine cameras. and there was a grant that we did not receive. And so we would like to extend the camera system into center school, same brand, same parameters, same everything, same dealer. They were the low bidder for Hall School when they were installed. So this would just be an expansion of that project. The cost would include cameras, installation, and licenses for those cameras. The spin that I will offer is when I had a discussion after my finance meeting with the group, with the board members, I was approached by Matt Jensen at Center School, and he said, that system in place, they told us it's a good system. It has good coverage, but we could go another step if you wanted to, depending on funding. There's an opportunity to add additional cameras, and I can't get into where because I don't want to share that as part of the security, but I will tell you that there would be for an additional cost, which would bring the total cost to $43,523. You could add additional cameras, and they said you would have a comprehensive package. So I felt like I needed to share that with the board. You have the opportunity to decide which direction you want to go. This system is a system that you can build upon. If you feel more comfortable at this point at the $35,000 level, or sorry, $32,000 level, that would be something that you could make the decision on. If you feel like, we have the funding this year, and this is important for school security, let's go with the higher level. Those additional cameras would be installed and that would be the $43,523 package. So those are the four items that I am proposing you commit to with current budget funds as specific projects. You could move one at a time, or you could move it all however you want to discuss.
Before, Anne, go ahead.
Phil, what can we bring with us to the new school?
So the only thing you wouldn't bring is the wiring. And so when they wire, once you put wire through, you don't use it again. So all of the cameras that are in the system, again, depending on what happens with technology in 5 years, because we all know in 5 years, a lot happens with technology. In my eyes, the 5 years is the minimum of a school building project. And I say that just from the standpoint of approvals and grant approvals, if that were to happen, town approvals, construction, move-in time. You could move these. The question at the time would be, do you want to? The good thing is they would be all the same system, and you would be able to, integrate them. I have these cameras in my office. They're at various locations for viewing in district at both schools. So having the same system and getting these cameras through the same system, our current setup at Center School is kind of like the Walmart eBay special. Playback is not so clean right now. It's there, but the quality of between these two systems is night and day.
And the same with the server, but that may be obsolete by the time we get into the new school too.
Correct.
Okay. Thank
Phil,
you.
you didn't mention what amount you thought we would have left over to give back to the town if even if we spent all of this, or would that be instead of all of this?
So when Donna and I talked today, no, it's after all of these projects, even if you went with a higher amount, 43, we still feel confident with $100,000 minimum.
Okay.
And again, it's hard because things are coming back, and Donna and I have this conversation every year, but we're not pushing, this dollar amount that we're not going to have any money left. She and I are pretty confident that we're going to have a minimum of $100,000, even after all of these projects, even after the bus prepay, and all of these specific projects.
Phil, on the cybersecurity, this is an upgrade. Is this on top of what we have now? And also, is the cybersecurity that we're putting in, is the are we sharing this with the town? Or is this just for our equipment?
So yes, this is absolutely an upgrade. And no, it is not shared with the town. We are split apart. They're required to have their own, and we are required to have our own. And to be eligible for cyber insurance, which again, could be another $15,000. We don't know that yet. Until you have all the parameters in place, that's when you get the quote. They're going to look through to see what we have. The fact that we have Novus, I think, helps us too, because they can make all these recommendations and keep us as secure as we can for a school district. But this is what you need to put in place to be eligible. If you decide not to do the cybersecurity upgrade, you still have some risk, and you won't be eligible for cyber insurance.
Now, as far as the security camera, I know we're talking about technology here, but security cameras are good up to a certain point. Are we enhancing other aspects of our security as well? Like locks on doors or secure doors or entryways, things of that kind?
So we're locked all the time. We have done some lock work actually across both buildings, and that's already been completed. But we're locked, 24/7, and that's something that we review regularly. Center School just had a practice lockdown drill recently. There are things, a lot of things in place. And again, just for security purposes, I don't speak about them. There's certain things that I don't want to share to, give someone with bad thoughts a reason to try and penetrate, what we have in place. So there is a lot, and we have a school security team that reviews those things. And the cameras is a piece of that puzzle. It is not the only piece.
Laura?
I'm just curious why migrating to Google Workspace is more secure than whatever system you've been using.
So our current system is, the name just escaped me. The mail server system is old. It's not Outlook, it's got something else, and it's escaping me if any of my admin team is on. But that is the reason why. It will take a server offline that is everything stored on there, and this is significantly safer for upgrades, for constant upgrades, and that's why it's safer with the Google.
Okay, and I mean, I know many districts use Google Classroom. That's part of this.
Yes.
And so would professional development for the teachers be included in this, like get the Google certifications?
No, it's not part of this, but I mean, the folks, and really Google Classroom is used by the middle school. And I would say that they're pretty savvy with it because of COVID. And there's already been training provided through that. This would not require our elementary staff to go through any, to go to Google Classroom. If they want to, they can, but they typically use Seesaw at the lower level.
Okay.
This really just secures our mail server. And I don't even know right now if there's going to be an email address change. I don't know if my pstevens at willingtonct.org will change, because right now I have a Google email address tied to my willingtonct.org account. They're tied together, which is what allows us to use Google Drive. So that may stay the same. And I don't have that answer right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Additional questions? Herb? And then
How
Ann?
many staff laptops are we getting?
I believe it's 54, Herb, that's in the quote.
54. And each one is going to cost.
Oh, they're the low. It's $1,000, a little bit over $1,000.
$1,000.
Yep. Novus put together the specs for what our staff, the things we use. They put together the specs for the type of laptop we would need. It's not the highest end and it's not the lowest end.
What was the total figure? I missed that.
What did I say? 60 through laptops was
908.
908.
$61,908.84.
51,000, okay.
No, 61. 60. Okay, Anne, your hand was up next, and then Donna.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to extend. You had mentioned, Phil, adding on some extras for 43,523. If we have the money, I think that would be a good idea to get the most cameras that we're able to. And when I kind of did a rough estimation, rounded out, it came out to about 159,000. Do we have that much money to invest in all of this? Okay, that's great. I think we should go for the extended then.
We do.
Okay, very good.
Donna?
Sorry about that. So my question has to do more with the extended. So from going from the 32,599 to, I believe you said 43,522, that additional money, I just, without knowing what other options, is there something different that we need for security that it would be more wise to purchase that versus this? I don't really know. That's my only concern, is if there's something else security related that we should be doing instead of those additional cameras that were not previously discussed.
At this point in time, I don't have any additional recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
That is, let me sorry, Donna, let me rephrase that. That don't cost $500,000.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I just give you the example, and what I'm speaking about is a double vestibule. When you get buzzed into a school and you come into a vestibule and you talk to somebody and then you get buzzed into the school. If we stay in our school districts, if we stay in 1 and 2 buildings, you will see that proposal from me for sure, as a front entrance double vestibule in both buildings. If we go to a new school, you'll see that in the design.
Okay, are we ready for a motion for all 4 of them at once? Somebody write down the numbers and feel confident that they can read them, or you want me to do it? Herb, you're on mute.
Michelle, go for it.
Herb?
Oh, I'm sorry, Herb.
I think someone mentioned the extension. What did we decide on that? Do we,
We did not. I'm looking for a motion to see if we wanted to move ahead and we can put the extension in there, or we can do the first 3 and then the last one separate if you'd like. Okay, I'm not hearing anything. I move that we approve all 4 proposed technology projects. The first for staff laptops in the amount of $61,908.84. The second one for the migration to Google in the amount of $21,890. The third one for upgrades for cybersecurity in the amount of $31,499.70. And the fourth one for expanded number of CES security cameras in the extended package in the amount of $43,523. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Anne. Comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the 4 technology projects signify by saying aye or raising your hands.
Aye.
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 Nay. Opposed abstentions. Okay, then it passed it unanimously. Moving on to next is present to speak.
You have an agenda item you added, 11B curriculum.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Herb. It's not written down, so I skipped past it. We did add an agenda item to 11B, additional to old business on the issue of curriculum. Herb, you had asked for this, so if you have
Yeah,
the mic.
I just have a motion I'd like to make to put it on the floor for discussion
Sure.
purposes. Okay? I move that we provide our entire new curriculum material on our website for the benefit of parents and other interested citizens of the town of Willington.
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you, Donna. So Herb, make your case.
Okay, I'll be kind of brief. We have two choices, I understand. We can either put the entire curriculum on our website, or we can put a simple digest of it. I know that a lot of people have been advocating for just a digest or a small version of the curriculum, but I think we have a responsibility here where this is something that has been discussed at length, and I think it's very important to have the entire curriculum material available for people. Now, I think some parents have said that no one really goes in and checks on the curriculum. And over the years, that's probably true. Years ago, the curriculum was probably 3 or 4 pages in length, and it was no problem associated with it. At the present time, if I know that the curriculums that we're developing are extensive and well written, and they're done in a thorough fashion, and they have multiple pages, hundreds of pages that we as board members have to look at and peruse. And I think most of us have. And it takes a lot of energy to read the entire curriculum. And it's not even half developed yet. We still have a long way to go. But if a parent, for example, has a 3rd grader, they would be interested in the curriculum for that third grader. So they're not going to read the curriculum probably for the 8th graders, 7th graders, and so forth. So they're not reading hundreds and thousands of pages. They're reading the curriculum for the 3rd grade, which is probably manageable. So that I think it should be available for parents especially. But there are other people in the community too who are very interested in the school system, as we as board members are. And I think that if an interested citizen wants to take a look at the curriculum at their leisure at home on their computer, that we should avail them of that possibility. I mean, how many people go to the superintendent's office unless they have a quarrel with him or have a question or something like that? He doesn't have people piling up in front of his office. I mean, a lot of it's done by telephone and so forth. But I think we have a responsibility to provide this curriculum to everyone, and it should be available to everyone. And we have to be very transparent. If we put a digest of the curriculum on our website, we are not fulfilling our obligation to the people in town. And therefore, I'm advocating for the full curriculum being placed on there, keeping in mind that it is separated into kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And if it's on there, people may read the curriculum in their particular area of interest.
Herb, I have a clarifying question for you. Are you stating that after we approve the particular curriculum units, we should put them up on the school website, even though they're not being implemented as of yet?
I just want them on the website. Yeah. I think even if we have developed them and put them out there, I think we should have them on the website, even if we haven't approved them yet. The curriculum is probably going to be revised anyway. It's going to change periodically. It's a live thing that we have going. It's the heart of some of the things that we do. So it should be available to everyone. Let's not hide it.
Right, but you intend that it should go up after it's approved or prior to when the board sees it for the first time?
Once the board has approved it and seen it, once it is ready to go, it should go up on the website.
Okay. Brianna, your hand was up first, and then Donna.
I just was gonna ask Phil if he could remind us what it would take to get that done, but I can wait for that answer. Donna would like to go ahead.
I don't mind waiting for you, Brianna. That's okay.
It's a lot.
Right.
You know, I don't know any other way to say that. And especially breaking it down by, if you're talking about content area, just for kindergarten, it's easier to, and I'm saying it's easier, but it's still a lot, to put all of the curriculum into a content area. So if you're going to post something, you would post all of the ELA together, or you would post all of the math together, as opposed to kindergarten would have all the specific areas together. Herb, I literally just emailed somebody about this yesterday, and it wasn't around putting it on the website, but one of the things I was proposing to try, because I know this is a request, right? We have to listen to what the public is looking for, and they want to see the current documents. And we heard the feedback that people don't want to come and sit in my office for hours, and that's really hard.
I'm not going to do that.
No, and I agree with you. And it got me thinking about the comments about in the library, and I'm not sure that that's a good solution. But I do think it would be way easier without adding loads and loads of work, especially when it comes to updates. When you have to find an update and rescan a document to post an update. If we made copies of the curriculum in my office and we had them by content area, and then we could even do an elementary middle school model for books to sign out. That way Brenda's just making copies and someone doesn't have to sit in my office. And if we had 3 copies sitting in my office, someone could come and sign out the elementary ELA curriculum. And again, I'm assuming you're talking about what's been approved just recently, because the other ones are being rewritten. That they could take those out, they could take them home, they could peruse them. Honestly, I don't even care if they make copies of something. You know, typically we would charge for those things, but that doesn't get us anywhere, because you can print it at home if it was online. But it would be significantly less work, but it would put the curriculum document in their hands, as opposed to scrolling through. They have to have a device if they're going to look it online. So I think from the standpoint to answer Brianna's question is I'm proposing a different option. And this is what I emailed someone the other day was, you know, this is something that we talked about doing that I haven't talked to the board about or even the committee about. That would be significantly easier than scanning all the documents, making PDFs, uploading them onto the website, and creating links. And anytime anything's changed, someone's got to touch that. And I'm going to tell you the hours to do that. You don't have that person on staff right now. They don't exist. It's a ton of work.
Is there somebody we could contract out to do something like that? And is
Sure,
there
I mean, there's
hypothetical proposal?
There are programs that you can put things in and it's clickable. The links are clickable, and all the curriculums uploaded into their system. But it costs money too. I mean, I don't know how many people are looking at it and what it's, couldn't even tell you what it costs. Atlas, I think, is one of them.
I wonder if there's some folks we could ask about that and get a dollar value. Maybe that would help clarify the amount of work and what actually that whole thing would entail.
Okay, Donna had her question up, and thank you, Erin, for joining us. I'll recognize you next, Donna.
Okay, so this is something I don't understand. Brenda emailed me, and I'm assuming the rest of the board, PDFs of each one of the units that we were asked to look at. So those are already in PDF format. They've been approved. So I don't understand why those already existing PDFs can't be posted to our website in a, I'm going to call it a bucket or a file that says approved curriculum, have in the larger bucket, have, in the larger file, have some sub files, whether it by grade or by area, whatever seems to make the most sense. And because right now I checked, the current curriculum we have posted there is from 2011. So I think that if we just put whatever's been approved there, and then on an annual basis, make a whole new PDF of whatever's been replaced in the file in your office, and repost those PDFs, it's not going to be onerous, because we're already being emailed PDFs of the curriculum. So I don't think anybody would need to make new PDFs. And maybe it would be at the discretion of you or the principal if there was some significant change to a unit to repost that. But other than that, I would say posting it once a year, if it's been updated, would be adequate, since we're already dealing with stuff that's over 10 years old that's on our current website.
Erin? If you can't find, okay.
There we go. I was just gonna, big picture regardless. So let's say that you went with Phil's proposal, where there's the sign out binder. Remember, that's in addition to, we'll have the book list up on the website, in addition to the specific, well, digest as her, but the overview of each standard and all of the grade levels. So you would have access to that in addition to that. Just wanted to say that it wasn't either or, that it's all of it.
And are those two things you just described kind of the summary, the kind of the easier to digest, or is that in addition? Is there an additional piece where you might have third grade curriculum summary on 4 pages, for parent night?
Yeah, do you remember the examples that Phil had shared the last meeting from Mansfield? It would be just like that. So you have every major core subject area. You have tips to the families. So it's really written for the audience of a parent, because just you remember the curriculum document is written for the audience of a teacher. So it's translating, what those pieces do is they translate the curriculum document from the teacher into, for a parent, so that it's digestible for the parent. And it gives them real skills. But in addition to, I know the resources have come up. So know that's also, regardless, we have a book list we just have been working on this week and putting together to get up there. So that is also going up. Just wanted to kind of give the big picture.
Okay. I have another question, and that's about intellectual property. Had we bought a curriculum outright from one of the textbook makers, I am sure we would not be allowed to post the curriculum in its entirety. Typically, the intellectual property belongs to the person who develops it jointly with the person who paid for it. It's not an either or, but I know that we've been using a number of different sources that may have a lot of sensitivity about having their materials posted online. If it's not set up as a model that's available for free. Do we have any sense if that's an issue?
And it's definitely accurate for Readers and Writers Workshop. And there's a lot straight from the, the manuals on that. It's obviously adjusted to meet our specific needs, but it's their program. It's not like we're presenting it as our own though. I mean, we're presenting it as Readers and Writers Workshop.
And did we sign a contract with them?
We purchased their materials.
But we've been using materials from their booklets that we received as part of the contract.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I am inclined to want to table this until we can get an answer to that question, because I do not want to say that we can put something out there if it's going to cause a major problem with the provider of our primary English language arts provider. Does anybody have any other thoughts on that?
We're also using letters. I don't know if that would.
Oh, that's right.
Would fall under the same umbrella.
I'm a little confused. I thought Erin was writing our curriculum, that we're paying her to do it. And then she's, the resources, like I received the list of books today. So, it provides a list of books that would be used, but it's not actually the book itself, so it's not publishing Brown Bear, what do you see? It just lists it and who the author is. So
right. So I'm not talking about those resource materials or the books that they're using. I'm talking about the curriculum ideas and the suggestions we received from Readers and Writers Workshop that we integrated into our curriculum, because that's what we purchased, is we wanted to be able to use their materials. We've gotten training, extensive training over the last few years on how to use that. So I would just want to double check to make sure we're not violating some agreement that we have in place by putting something available to the public. And it might be that it's fine if it's available to the public as long as we don't allow people to photocopy it. And I would think that your idea about kind of the, I don't know, having Brenda be the lending library type of thing might work as long as people agree not to photocopy it. Because usually intellectual property is about making the copy, not about reading it. So I would just want to clarify that question.
it isn't all of this, people can get copies by doing a FOIA request. And if that's the case, I don't really understand what the difference is. But I mean, I don't want to do anything illegal.
That's not something I have the answer to. I don't know.
That's a great question.
Can you find out, Phil? Because if anybody can put in a FOIA request for this document, then to me, once you can do that, especially since it doesn't have personal, sensitive, or legal information on it, it's not about a person, a particular student, or a particular teacher, then I'm not an attorney, but that would seem to make sense to me.
It might have to do with access too. So if it's on the website, and that, I mean, Michelle's comment about intellectual properties is important. It's why it's why you have references in a paper, right? It's the same. This is the same type of thing. So Erin is writing curriculum with Kristen. They're using a lot of different materials. The core is the Readers and Writers Workshop, but they're integrating other resources into the program. IM will be our math curriculum core, but we'll be integrating other things in. The question is, if you put it online, does that make it more accessible than if we just have it accessible in my office? Because typically they would see the person accessing it here would be a parent of a child, in district, as opposed to I mean, maybe this is why we don't see it on websites all over the place. I don't know, because it's intellectual property and they can come after you for it. I'll research that. I don't know that answer.
Thank you.
I think the other thing we should look into before we vote is the cost of, as Brianna brought up, the cost of getting it onto our website and maintaining it on our website also. The other thing to consider is we have Erin for another 2 years. And then at the end of that time, we don't have a person who's going to be dedicated to working on curriculum 24/7.
Hopefully
So-
not 24/7, but it might
Well,
feel
I
like
think
that.
she does a lot of it beyond her, 9 to 5. So the question is, if we have this, we will continue to upgrade the curriculum and work on it, but it adds this whole other layer if we're maintaining it in 2 separate places, accessible to teachers and accessible to the public.
Herb?
I appreciate all of your comments regarding the motion that I have made, but I don't think we should circumvent this. I think we should take a hard look at it and make sure that we are serving the people in town, the parents especially, so that they have the benefit of seeing the curriculum, not a one-page digest of what is going on, but it gives them a little insight into what's going on in the classroom and what their child is being taught. And I think that a lot of things that we've talked about today are kind of to sidestep that, and I don't understand why we're doing that. Why we don't want, whatever we do, we want to be transparent. We want to give our parents and children all of this, and now all of a sudden we're kind of withholding a very valuable document, probably the most valuable document outside of the budget that we have in going for us here in our policies. So
Brianna, do you have a question?
Not a
Or
question.
comment? Go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to say that throughout this conversation, as well as others that we've had in the past, what I'm hearing is that we agree that sharing our curriculum openly with the public is something that we want to work towards and are trying to figure out a way that makes the most sense for everyone. So tonight we came up with 2 questions that I don't think we've pinpointed before. So we made progress. Woo, good job, everybody. That I hope we can feel good about. And maybe once we get those questions answered, then we'll all be a little bit more clear on those 2 steps and move forward that way. While we were talking and I was listening, I popped over to the Mansfield's page, and they have something called a family guide to the curriculum. And it is more like the digest that you were referring to, Herb. And I feel like Bill's brought this up before, but for board members and also folks listening and townspeople who are interested, that might be something to go take a look at and see if there's some value in that document or some pieces of it that you might find helpful and beneficial to, or in place of, either way. And then in Ashford, they offer curriculum maps for all grade levels and subject areas as well. That is not a full curriculum either. That's more of a month-to-month explanation of the topics the children are learning about. But again, that's just something else, a nearby district, one of the districts that we send our kids with to EO, are putting on their website. So not saying we need to do that instead, but it's a pretty good thing to review and just kind of keep in mind, I think, while we're trying to figure out how to do this and while our townspeople are interested in it, and maybe that can give them a little bit of enlightenment also. So I actually heard some positive things tonight, so I'm glad.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we table this item pending the answer to the question about intellectual property right. and costs for maintenance. Do I have a second?
I will.
Okay, thanks, Brianna. Okay, all those in favor of tabling this motion until we have information on those two answers, please signify by saying yes or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that was unanimous. Thank you all. Next on the agenda is present to speak. I recognize that there are people who've been with us the entire night. Thank you for your patience. It was a long meeting and we still have more to go, but we always value having people provide feedback to us. So, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. If you would please keep your comments to 3 minutes and start with your full name and address for the record, that would be great. Again, if you can raise your hand using the reactions button at the bottom of your screen, or you can come onto the video and literally raise your hand, and that'll help us to see you, to bring you back onto unmute. Sarah Reese, I see your hand up. If you can unmute her, please.
You'd be able to do it, Sarah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sarah Reese, Pinecrest Road. So I just wanted to take the time to reply to a previous comment. While I respect their perspective, I don't think it's fair to make assumptions about the reason why parents have asked to make the curriculum more accessible. Excuse me. It's not that parents don't have trust in teachers to do what's best for our kids or support them. I've personally reached out at previous meetings and to teachers to ask what we could do as a community or parent to help support them. To me, it's more about coming together and working in a partnership with the board, schools, and fellow parents to decide what's best. It's about making information more accessible to parents to go over and review. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but the curriculum is currently not available at the superintendent's office and will not be for a few weeks. As stated previously, I personally don't believe having a 200+ page document only available at Phil's office is a realistic solution, as many of us do not have the time to sit there and go over it without rushing through the material, or me personally bombarding Brenda with a bunch of follow-up questions while she's busy doing other things. It might be more beneficial and eco-friendly to have it as a PDF document online, making it more accessible to all. You guys discussed cost or issues of trying to get it on there. Is it something parents could help to volunteer to make happen? This process should be an ongoing dialogue between the board, schools, and parents. Asking questions should always be encouraged and not frowned down upon. Asking parents to be involved and then somewhat be shunned for questioning materials is concerning to me. I feel we all need to work together to do what's best for our children. Thank you for your time, and I hope everybody has a happy summer vacation. Woo!
There's someone who's got their hand raised, who says Razor phone. If you would identify yourself, please, with your name and address.
Yes, it's Arthur Christensen, 14 Birch Meadow Lane.
Go ahead,
I'd like to support the comments made by Herb, Donna, and just earlier now by Ms. Reese on the ease of accessibility for the curriculum. It's difficult to view curriculum content, and it's especially difficult when a teacher may be difficult to reach to get the information for your child. The parents speaking up on the curriculum, the content of the curriculum, or any other issue brought to the board are doing so because they're wanting what's in the best interest of the kids and the kids of the community. I appreciate all the community members, parents, and the board members that speak up and ask questions, as this is our children's education and well-being at stake. We may not all agree, but we can show some mutual respect when you disagree. It's not easy for some to come on meetings, especially in a small town, to make your voice heard and risk being attacked just for having a different view. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the call who'd like to say something during our present to speak time? Please raise your hand using the reactions button or come on to the screen so we can see you and turn off your or turn on your microphone? Okay, I am not seeing any. So we will move on to board comment. Who wants to go first? Come on, guys, you got to jump in. It's late. Anne and then Herb.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Mary Kay, for the work you've done on this schedule. That looks like it's really going to make some great improvements for next year. So thank you for that. And then good luck to Erica and Katie as they move on to new ventures. And I also wish all the staff, thank you so much for a great year. And I hope you all have a well-deserved vacation this summer.
Thank you, Anne. Herb?
Anne took the words out of my mouth. I was all set.
That's why we should all be rushing to go first.
Would like to thank the entire staff for their devotion and service this year. I think it's been a very trying year, but productive. And they are responsible to some extent. The fact that this week we have graduation coming up, and we have, I don't know how many students, but about at least 50, Bill, that are graduating. And that is a major event, and certainly want to wish all of the graduates the best. I had a lot of other things I was going to say, but the hour is late, and I will stop there.
Laura?
So I will be very short also because the hour is late. Just definitely wanted to, oh my gosh, I can't think. Thank Mary Kay for all of her hard work. Very excited about the change in the schedule. It's just, yeah, I could go on about that. Welcome to the new folks who are coming, I guess, in the fall, Nicholas and Amanda. And wishing well to those who are leaving. Excited for the promotion ceremonies this Friday in person. Looking forward to that, and I think that's about all I can say right now. Thank you everybody for your hard work.
Thank you. Brianna, Tracy, Donna, you can pass or you can comment, up to you. Donna?
I just want to thank everybody who showed up for the meeting tonight and shared their thoughts and insights. They are always welcome. And I will keep it brief because we know it's late. Thank you.
Tracy?
I don't think I have anything else to add. I think it's all been said, but congratulations to our graduates, and thank you to all the teachers and staff and everyone who's made this year successful. Have a happy summer.
Thank you. Brianna?
Yikes. Ditto to all of that. And I wanted to thank staff and parents and community members for persevering and getting us back to a place where we can have some very important ceremonies and events together in person. Seeing pictures of those 8th graders at their dance this weekend was just awesome. I don't even have an 8th grader. I only knew a few of them in the pictures, but man, oh man, it was so great to see. And I can't wait to go to a couple concerts this week. And I'm just thrilled for our community as a whole. And I think these children are starting to understand what that feels like. And so isn't that a great thing? Teachers, school staff, you guys are amazing. This has been the hardest and you're doing it. So high five on Monday, halfway through the day. Thanks.
So I only have one additional thing to add, and that is just a hint that one amongst us on the Board of Ed has a significant birthday coming up before our next meeting. So there might be some singing or other celebrating happening in July. So I'm just putting that out there so that you know that it's coming and no one is surprised. because nobody likes surprise. Well, some people like surprises. I take that back. And with that, I move that we move into executive session and invite the superintendent to join us for a moment. And is that the right way to word it? At 9:51 p.m. Oh, I have to say why. To address the superintendent's evaluation.
So everybody that's, yeah, you need your motion in your second.
I second
Okay.
that motion.
Thank you, Tracy. And do we need to vote?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of moving into executive session signify by saying aye. Raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right, let me just finish down. Sorry, folks that are still in the meeting, you're gonna get dumped.
It's better if they jump off themselves, because if you use the same code, they can't come back in the next meeting.
Yep. We're closing in on it. 2 left.
Is it now an appropriate time to take a quick run to the restroom? Or do you want me to wait?
Just give us 1 second.
Okay.
Jennifer was up there twice, so I think that one of them might be like a remnant.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we can turn off the recording. Okay, we are leaving executive session at 11:04 p.m. The only items are to resolve are I move that we extend Superintendent Stevens' contract 1 more year and move ahead with the items related to his contract that were discussed in executive session. Is that okay? That way?
Do you need
Yeah,
a
that's
second?
fine by me.
Do we have to vote
Yeah,
on
we
it?
need a
spell
second and
it
a
out?
vote.
Second.
Okay, thanks, Brianna. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion passes.
Appreciate it.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second.
Okay, second.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Have a good night, all. Thank you.
Okay,
very
good
much.
night.
Thank you, Phil.
Aye.